So Secretary of State Blinken, he goes on CNN with Wolf Blitzer, and they talk foreign policy, of course. And right at the very end of the interview, he asks him about the Golan Heights, the Syrian Golan Heights, which have been illegally occupied by Israel since 1967, right? So let's just watch this clip, and then we'll break it down the way no one else would break it down.
Golan is very important to Israel's security as long as Assad in time.
The Trump administration, as you know, also recognized Israeli sovereignty over the Golan Heights, which Israel captured from Syria back in 1967. Will your administration, the Biden administration, continue to see the Golan Heights as part of Israel?
Look, leaving aside the legalities of that question, as a practical matter, the Golan is very important to Israel's security as long as Assad is in power in Syria, as long as Iran is present in Syria, militia groups backed by Iran, the Assad regime itself. All of these pose a significant security threat to Israel, and as a practical matter, the control of the Golan in that situation, I think, remains of real importance to Israel's security. Legal questions are something else, and over time, if the situation were to change in Syria, that's something we look at, but we are nowhere near as that.
Okay, wow. Do you notice how he's asking him a matter which is wholeheartedly about international law, and then literally the first words that come out of Blinken's mouth, legalities aside. What? What do you mean legalities aside? There's nothing but legal stuff to do with this. There's nothing but international law, legalities aside. Now, and then, of course, we'll go into the rest of the words that he said, but Israel's been illegally occupying the Golan Heights since 1967, and just as it's been illegally occupying the Palestinian West Bank, Gaza Strip, East Jerusalem, there are so many UN resolutions, UN Security Council resolutions, explicitly stating this occupation is illegal. Israel needs to leave. End of story, period. As a matter of fact, the first resolution, 242, unanimously passed in the UN Security Council. Unanimously. Everyone voted for it. You remember the P5? You have five permanent seats on the Security Council. So UK, US, China, Russia, France. They have veto power. They didn't use it. Like that should give you an idea of how clear cut this notion is. Everyone is in agreement, or was in agreement at the very least at the time, right? Unanimously passed. And of course, you have 10 other members on the Security Council in rotation. So all 15 members voted unanimously to pass UN Resolution 242, right? And then, of course, you have countless other ones. You have 497 as well. I mean, there are literally hundreds. So you look at this over here, and what is Blinken saying? Saying, we don't like Assad. We want Assad to leave. What? Look, man, Assad was not the president in 1967, nor was his father. What does this have to do with Assad? Israel stole the fucking Golan Heights. End of story. I really don't know how much more clear we can be on this. Like, there is no debate here. It's just no. So whether Donald Trump recognizes Israeli sovereignty, whatever that means, over the Golan Heights, it means jack shit. It's a piece of toilet paper. It's not international law. He's no right to do that. The United States is a member state of the United Nations, and as I said, has a permanent seat on the UN Security Council. It's a party to all these resolutions that were passed stating this occupation is illegal. Israel must get the fuck out. You can't violate that. Let me show you why Israel wants the Golan Heights, in case you're wondering what's so special about this bit of land, which is located right here, okay, between Syria and occupied Palestine, right? This is the Golan Heights, all right? You want to know why it's so special? Number one is water. Also has snow, right? And so the Israelis, they're very intelligent, right? Like, oh yeah, this shit is ours. Let's build a ski resort. Fuck Syria. Look at this arrogance. Can you imagine this shit? Like, look how arrogant these people are, right? I mean, honestly, if we're being frank, this is a joke compared to what they do to Palestinians. Bulldozing people's fucking homes in front of them. Like literally coming with the police or the army and making you stand outside while they bulldoze your home in front of you. I mean, this is a joke compared to that. This is nothing. Nonetheless, they want it for the water. They want it for the snow. They want it for the oil, right? They keep drilling there, trying to look for oil. And of course, it's an extremely important strategic plateau. You have a vantage point overlooking the Sea of Galilee, right? I mean, just from a strategic point of view, from a military point of view, priceless. Priceless. Never mind the water. The water on its own is, I mean, this is worth more than gold in the Middle East. And if we're being frank, the oil, I mean, it's not as much as in the northeast of Syria, right? So it's really about the water, and it's really about the strategic value that it holds overlooking the Sea of Galilee and as a military outpost. And so Blinken is saying legalities aside, because there's no way to answer this question other than Israel are fucking thieves. There's no other way to answer that, right? And so Trump, I just want to point out here again how Trump's policies are being continued by the Biden administration. I mean, it's unbelievable, right? How is this the lesser of two evils? Can someone explain that to me, right? Because Trump didn't just do this with the Syrian Golan Heights. He comes and does that as well with East Jerusalem, right? With Jerusalem itself, the capital, but specifically East Jerusalem, which is under illegal occupation. It belongs to Palestine. Well, I mean, all of Palestine does, but in the scope of the UN Resolution 242, we're talking about East Jerusalem. And so Trump says, oh, well, we're going to move our embassy there. We're going to move it from Tel Aviv to Jerusalem, right? Biden administration is going to keep it there. They're not moving it back. And just as Wolf Blitzer asked Blinken, what about all this? Oh, they're not changing that either. Yeah, we're going to keep recognizing sovereignty there. And what an admission that he makes on television. Like the reason that he gives is, well, yeah, we don't like who's in charge in Syria. So, we want to overthrow the government and then we'll maybe give back the Golan Heights. It's not yours to give back in the first place. It's not up to you to decide who's in charge in Syria. Are you Syrian? Go fuck yourself. Like, look at this arrogance. Like it's come so normal. It just goes over people's heads, right? Unbelievable, right? What do you think of that? What do you think of that? It is incredible. It is incredible. To me, this is no different than Pompeo, right? This is like a nicer sounding, a slightly more polished version of Pompeo. No, but it's the same words coming out of his fucking mouth. It's the same policies. It's the same imperialism. There's no difference whatsoever. How can you reason with these people? They're not interested in reasoning, right? They're not interested in reasoning whatsoever. Oh, I forgot to mention my parents work there, right? You have the UN mission in the Golan Heights, a peacekeeping mission, observer mission. So, but that's a whole other story. I mean, this, like I said, this is going back to 1967. And that's actually the whole fucking reason why you have a UN mission there. to hold the ceasefire line. So another thing that you need to understand is that he talks about Israel's security, right? What Israel's security? Israel is bombing Syria every goddamn week. And they usually almost always do it from the Golan Heights, right? They'll go and attack Commentator, which is just outside the Golan Heights inside Syria. And as I said, it has extreme military value and strategic value. And every time a politician answers a question with Israel's security, we know what that means, man, right? We know what that means. It means, screw you, we're going to do whatever we like because Israel comes first. America comes first. We come first. We are superior to you. He's literally saying that. That's what he's implying. Israel first. Israel first. Not Syria or anyone else. Israel. What a weird thing to say on live television. How brazen, right? And it's not just him, of course. It's every U.S. politician. It's every U.S. Secretary of State. And a lot of European ones too. Very interesting, right? Weird. It's like, are you the foreign minister for the U.S. or Israel? Like, I can't tell right now. Weird, huh? You seem to have a lot invested in their security. And of course, we've covered all the bombings that Israel's done in Syria. I mean, it's in the hundreds officially, which is surprising that the IDF would even admit that. but realistically, it's in the thousands. In the last decade, they've taken advantage of the fact that Syria is in a state of war, in a state of disarray. And so they just keep going in every week, bombing Syria, right? So, I mean, who's a threat to who here? What is Syria doing to Israel? Exactly. Unbelievable. These are the same chicken hawks, war hawks. These are the same vile imperialists who think that, you know, oh, we Americans, we're going to run the world now. We're going to decide from all the way on the other side of the planet who's in charge over here, and because it suits us and our buddies. I mean, if you call this the lesser of two evils, you need help. You really do. There's literally no difference, indistinguishable from Trump.